Good morning, Rabun County. It's Roger Glenn with Poss Realty, but you already knew that, probably. If you don't, you aren't missing anything. But we're really happy to be here today with Monica Blaylock, who's the Director of Community Awareness for Faith. And we're going to talk about what faith is in just a minute.
All right, great.
Thanks for taking a little bit of your time.
Well, thanks for coming. I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, it's great. Faith is one of the many organizations we have, but certainly one of the most well-known in the community. And so, Monica, I always like to start with some really tough questions.
Oh, no.
So I'll start with, what does FAITH stand for?
Oh, well, FAITH, oh gosh, I don't know. No. FAITH stands for Fight Abuse in the Home.
Yeah.
And so fight abuse in the home covers all sorts of abuse that can happen in a family situation.
Yeah, so it's kind of oriented towards domestic situations, things that occur in the home that need to be addressed, stopped, etc., etc.
Yes, and when FAITH started, we started out just primarily domestic violence, and what we found through helping people is there were all sorts of types of domestic violence and violence that happened in the home. So we started out with a hotline and a shelter, and so our services have just continued to grow over the last 25 years.
Yeah. So FAITH is an organization, then you talked about the mission. Is it Rabun County? Obviously our channel is just for Rabun County, but I know you've got the powerhouse at least. So how large of an area do you sort of offer services and assistance to?
So we offer services in 3 counties. It's Rabun, Habersham, and Stevens counties that we cover.
Yep, okay. And can you talk kind of about the breadth of the things that you do in terms of the thrift store, the furniture store, the powerhouse, and just talk about what they are, where they are, what they do?
Yeah, so in Rabun County, and a lot of people in Rabun County think, I ask, what do you know about FAITH? And they always mention the thrift stores and the domestic violence shelter. So in Rabun County, we do have the domestic violence shelter and the thrift stores. But we also do community, we call it outreach, but basically in Rabun County, we do 90% of all TPOs, and those are temporary protective orders for people who've been victims of violence. And there are a lot of things that go along with a temporary protective order. Sorry, a B.
A big B.
Yeah, with a temporary protective order is just a little bit stronger than a restraining order.
Right.
So we have advocates that take the information down. All of those go before a judge, and then a judge will issue the temporary protective orders, which are served by the police, and they're just they're just a lot stronger than a restraining order.
Right.
So any phone calls, emails, or any contact from the perpetrator, and they will go to jail, and the victim is a lot safer. So we do, I would say, more than 90% of the TPOs in the county, in Rabun County. And so then we have the domestic violence shelter, which houses about 12 to 15 people, depending on if it's adults or children. But not every victim of domestic violence needs shelter. So our advocates will help do safety plans. We work with the victims to, number one, keep them safe, but to come up with a plan that works for them. Yeah. But not all domestic violence victims need shelter in the shelter.
Right. And so you mentioned that a lot of people know, I guess because of the retail presence of FAITH, about the thrift store and the furniture store, but those are really ways that you sustain yourself economically as a 501c3, as a not-for-profit?
Yes, that's true. And so we do make money from the thrift stores that go back into the mission, but then also when we're helping people reestablish their lives and get new homes. The furniture store provides furniture for people who are reestablishing a home. And a lot of victims come to us with only the clothes on their backs. They escape a dangerous situation, they literally have nothing but the clothes on their back. So they'll go to the thrift store, and we're able to, provide them with clothing and their children with clothing and different things like that.
You were telling me just how grateful the organization is for all of the donations, that you've received in the past from people. But you can also donate items and goods to the thrift store or the furniture store, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So it doesn't have to be cash or
right. It doesn't have to be monetary. Everything helps. Yeah. So and the thrift stores mean so much to us, and they're a presence in the community, and like I said, they help the victims of abuse, and then and the money helps the victims. So
absolutely. And then you just came off doing a couple of different things, the music festival and the golf tournament, which were fundraisers as well.
Right.
But I would say they're also fundraisers.
Right.
See that fun?
That's good.
Yeah. Work with me. Thank you.
Yeah.
And the Powerhouse, is that an asset? How do people from Raven County benefit from it?
Okay, well, that's a great question, because so many people in Raven County don't know about the Powerhouse because it's in Toccoa. It's placed in Toccoa. But the Powerhouse does serve children and victims of sexual assault in Raven County, Stevens County, and Habersham counties. And the Powerhouse is very special to me. I love what they do. I wish everybody could just take a tour of the Powerhouse, but the Powerhouse is like a little home. It's set up like a home. So the Powerhouse is a really special place to all of us, and we do serve children and victims of sexual assault in Raven, Habersham, and Stevens County. The Powerhouse, I guess the best way I could describe it is just by giving an example. If a victim of sexual assault were to be victimized without the Powerhouse, what would happen is they would have to go to the emergency room. They would have to tell their story, wait for 4 or 5 hours. Then the police would come, and then they would have to, report to the police and tell their story again, or may even have to go to the police, or may even have to make visits to the DA's office for prosecution, and it would just be this whole traumatizing event for the victim. So with the Powerhouse, when a crime happens, the victim can come to the Powerhouse, and there we have on staff what's called a SANE nurse, a sexual assault nurse examiner. And so we're able to do the exams, the interviews, and all of those things there. So the victim has to tell their story one time. And also there at the Powerhouse, we have a forensic interviewer who's amazing, Ruthie Zollner. She's amazing. So she has been trained on how to interview the victim, for a court case, or for possible prosecution. And so what's so great about that is all of the agencies come to the Powerhouse. So the police come, the district attorney comes, if it's a child, DFACS comes, and all of those agencies are there, but the victim never sees them. So they're, they have access to the interviews and all of that on camera at the place. So it's a very non-threatening, peaceful, caring place for the victims.
Yeah, I know one of the things too that obviously many victims are very concerned about is their privacy and protection. And so I think your model is kind of set up to protect that, to your point, and to lessen sort of the trauma of having to relive this, difficult, horrific experience that they just went through. And it's a model that we used in the Army quite well when we had those unfortunate circumstances where there was an allegation of sexual assault. Very similar kind of model to help focus on what the victim needed the most.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. And so they've already been traumatized. So we want to, and our mission is not just to not traumatize them anymore, but we want to achieve total healing. Okay, so even after the exams and the interviews and all of that, we offer counseling for the victims and sometimes their families. Because what we want to do is offer complete healing to the people. And so back to the money from the thrift stores and the money from donations, a lot of those funds go to ongoing counseling. So because we give people free counseling for as long as they need it until they're healed.
Yeah.
And I think that's a beautiful thing because it helps our community. So there are so many things that happen to someone who's been traumatized, and so many antisocial behaviors that can develop with children. And so, we're helping people to be members of the community and to give back to the community, and it's just it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Do you actually offer services to people that have some behavioral, psychological issues to where they are the perpetrator, if you will, or is it solely focused on the victims?
We are solely focused on the victims.
Yeah.
And we can give resources for offenders, but we're totally focused on the victims.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes a lot of sense. I know when I was at Place of Hope of North Georgia recently and talking about, children that were in foster care and situations like that, that's part of the same concept of sort of total healing and getting through it. So when somebody comes in, you have the ability to help not only bring the necessary people to, you're talking about the counseling, but point them towards resources that are available to them, as they go forward.
Absolutely. Yes, we do that. I mean, our advocates really work with these people to offer them whatever service they need. I've never seen people just care so much and work so hard. And I know we don't have time here today, but families are so dynamic and people are so dynamic and have so many different issues or hurdles that they have to overcome. And our advocates really get in there. And I mean, even if I've seen them do things like, help somebody sell their car so they can get a more affordable car.
Yeah.
Do their budgets for them so they can stay in the place that they live. I mean, and it's just, like I said, the hurdles and the issues just go on and on and on because every family and every person's so different.
Yeah, but your staff and the advocates are going the extra mile to help relieve some of that stress and help
Absolutely.
them solve problems, which is critically important because stress does bad things to almost everyone.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, it doesn't discriminate. But what about some things in the future? I talked about you just came off a series of kind of events. What are some things that are out there on the horizon that you're considering in the way of new efforts or services that folks can look forward to?
Well, we don't have a lot of things set in stone, and probably nothing I can really publicize at this point.
It's top
I know
secret.
it is top
Classified.
secret.
Dang
Yeah, but some things we're working on. One thing that's really interesting is that we're working on is a way to at the shelter to house pets, and I know that. That doesn't really resonate with a lot of people, but statistics show that one of the main reasons a person won't leave a violent situation is because they don't want to leave their pet behind. So, just imagine you're at home, you probably have a pet, you love that pet, and you're living in a bad situation and you don't want to leave your baby with this violent person because, something could happen to it or they're not going to get fed or, that kind of thing. And so a lot of times people will stay in a situation because they can't take their pet. So what we'd like to do is we'd like to have, 3 or 4 kennels for cats and 3 or 4 kennels for dogs so that we can, when we're helping with the safety plans and that kind of thing and trying to, help people out of their situations, that we have a solution for that.
Yeah, that's great. Well, the other part of that too is if you get past that traumatic experience and the immediate crisis, then they have the opportunity to see and spend time with their pet, which is very comforting and healing as well. So that's really cool.
And right now we do have some solutions for that, but they're off site, so it's kind of difficult to for them to see their pets all the time.
Yeah, makes it more difficult. I just thought, with the number of, we got a lot of new sort of full-time residents and people that have moved into the area, but do you have to be a resident of Rabun or Stevens or Habersham to take advantage of the services, or it can be anybody that happens to be here, even if it's for a short vacation?
Oh no, yeah. If you're in Rabun, Habersham, or Stevens, and you're a victim of abuse, we can help. And that happened in those counties, then yes, we can help you.
Yeah.
And we're also, as far as the shelter goes, we are part of a network of shelters, so across the state. So if our shelter is full, we may refer somebody to another shelter, or if it's a particularly dangerous situation, we might want to send somebody to a remote shelter, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So we kind of, work throughout the state with that kind of thing.
Yeah. One of the organizations that we did a feature on a couple months ago was the Appalachian Aging Resource Network, which is a membership organization that's really North Georgia regionally, but it's talking about services for the aging population. And at one of our monthly meetings, we talked about elder abuse. Do you all deal with elder abuse, or do you just help refer that to the state agencies and other organizations?
Well, we can help with that, and we do. But you ask about the future. Our director, Caroline Wallace, she really wants to dive into elder abuse. So we can help, and we do help. But we really want to start, diving into that and add that to our portfolio of services that we do. I mean, right now we're just kind of, we are helping, but we'd like to have, a whole department and a whole, not agency, but a whole department that can kind of handle that kind of thing, and also bring awareness to it to help. But it is a problem, and we do see it quite a bit.
Yeah, no, it's unfortunate when it occurs, but a lot of people don't realize, I think Rabun County has the 5th highest percentage of seniors of any county in the state of Georgia. So we certainly have a large kind of demographic, if you will. So if folks are interested in learning more about faith, finding out about the different facilities, activities, and services that you have, what are the best ways to get in contact with the staff?
Well, the best way to do it would be to visit our Facebook page. It's faith-inc.org on Facebook.
We'll link that.
Okay, good. and that's our website too, www.faith-inc.org. That's the best way. And then for people who are experiencing domestic violence, or know somebody who may be experiencing domestic violence, you can reach our hotline, which is 24 hours a day, and that is 888-782-1338.
We'll flash that up on the screen
right.
too. The wizard Laura is probably doing that work right now. So, what about volunteers? I think people understand, financially how 501c3s operate. Again, you were mentioning how grateful you are for the generous support of the community. What about volunteers? Are you actively looking for volunteers?
We are. Our thrift stores always need volunteers to help, go through the donations that we receive and that kind of thing. We also can use volunteers for babysitting. That's a big thing that we need volunteers for. With the babysitting, you have to pass a background check and be CPR certified, so it's a little more lengthy of a process to be approved for volunteering, but we can always use volunteering for babysitting and the thrift stores.
Yeah, awesome. Monica, just on behalf of the community, I always call myself an unofficial ambassador. Nobody's appointed me, it's just self-appointed, but my salary is reasonable. But thank you to you and the rest of the staff for sort of getting involved and trying to help people at a very difficult time in their lives. It's critically, I think, important for a community to help those that are in some sort of dangerous situation or some other situation that's unsafe or unhealthy, to help sort of support them. And Faith is certainly doing that in many regards across the community. So just appreciate so much what it is that y'all do.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate you being here. But I don't do any of the work. Our advocates are the real heroes. They do all of the work, and like I said, I wish I had time to tell you all that they do, but they care, they work, and they are the heroes of the whole organization.
Those unsung heroes.
Yeah.
They're out there, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, they stay out of the spotlight intentionally
Yes.
sometimes. Well, thank you again, Monica. And if you'll help me,
Thank you.
I always say, we'll see you next time, Raven County.
See you next time.